make more good in the all-new Sportage X-Pro. Kia, movement that inspires.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local Lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
New Trail Brewing Company proudly crafts their beers right here in central Pennsylvania. Brewed with only the best possible ingredients, New Trail produces a variety of year-round brands as well as weekly experimental recipes. New Trail Broken Heels is Pennsylvania's favorite local hazy IPA. This beer is smooth and full-bodied. Hand-selected Citra hops lead to notes of bright clementine and juicy ruby red grapefruit. Broken Heels is perfect for a pregame tailgate all the way through the victory celebration.
What's the best mid-size pickup? Tacoma. What's the #1 mid-size truck in resale value? Tacoma. Want to get great gas mileage, 4 doors, and 4-wheel drive? Tacoma. Sioka Toyota of Williamsport has over 25 available right now. You can lease a brand new, never-driven Toyota Tacoma for just $379 a month. That's 30 months, 3,000 cash or trade, 10,000 miles a year. This is while supplies last. Buy yours or reserve yours today and see the Sioka difference. And remember, tell them Johnny sent you.
We welcome you into another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube. Why? Because that's the place to be. And we get to be here every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon from 3 to 4. Invite you to stop down, talk a little sports, have a little drink, get a little grub, check out some sports on TV, and you can do that all throughout the week here at Quaker Steak and Lube. And I apologize, was tied up in multiple ways on Tuesday, so
you were just afraid to take
it was
your
a
beating from me and
brutal football weekend for yours truly. That is for sure. Between Penn State, and it was one of those things with Saturday's game, and I'm sure you talked about it. I haven't had a chance to go back and watch the show yet. I haven't had a chance to catch my breath yet, but the one thing about that game is it's just because I went into that game, Goon, I'm like, I think Penn State's going to lose, and it could be handily, and I'm okay with it. Like, it's, Ohio State's that good this year. Penn State's on the way, I think to where they want to get, or at least, working toward it. Whatever, be perfectly content, and then some with 10-2. So I'm okay. I'm just going to watch this game and take it for what it is. And then, of course, as Penn State always does against Ohio State, they suck me in as, my God, they're going to win this thing. By God, they're going to close the deal this time. And no, 2 minutes later, not only are they not going to close the deal, it's on paper going to look like a lopsided game. And it is just uncanny. The ability, and I mean, hats off to Ohio State, because it's
they won.
Depending on how you want to look at it, Penn State collapses every time in that fourth quarter against Ohio State, or Ohio State, catches fire if you're from the Buckeyes' perspective, whatever. But it is amazing. I mean, it really is amazing that every year Penn State, has at least a chance, if not a really good chance, to close the thing out, and they just have not been able to do it since 2016.
Michigan last year.
Yeah.
That late game,
Yeah,
then when it was like they ran that crossing pattern, and it was just like, okay, somebody could be over there to catch him here and tackle. What's your memory? How good's your memory?
Of what?
92 Miami game. 6-0, 5-0, just a great team they were. They ended up winning the national title.
Yeah.
But literally the exact same part of the field, to the same side of the field, we missed a cut block on a defensive end, and Darren Crane was their defensive end that day. He reaches up and picks the ball off and runs it in for a 30-yard untouched touchdown to end, pretty much put the game out of reach.
Yeah.
I was like watching it, and I'm like, Jesus, it's 1992.
Well,
it was 30 years ago.
I will say Marvin Harrison and 44. I mean, those two players, right, where that was the difference in your ball game. on Saturday. And I think, talent-wise and even line play-wise, all of it. I mean, Penn State's right there, but couldn't account for 44 and could not stop. I couldn't slow down Marvin Harrison Jr. So, again, I still think if you go back to the start of the season, Goon, I know it's hard to do because you get caught up in the moment, and now it's, Michigan and Ohio State. By the way, the one thing that I do think, and maybe I'm just not looking at it right, but people keep throwing and I have had it all week and now for whatever the record is for Franklin against Ohio State and Michigan. Hey, it's basically 500 against Michigan, and it's one win against Ohio State. Well, 500 against your other rival in the conference is not right. I mean, you want to be better, obviously, but Michigan wants to be better too. 500 is what you would expect two really good rivals to be over, a 10-year or so period, right? They keep throwing it in Franklin's only whatever it is, 3 or 4 and 11 against those two teams. It's like, well, yeah, but he's 500 against Michigan, which is where, at least you want to be. And then, Ohio State, which dominates everybody in the conference, has, dominated Penn State as well.
Harbaugh and Franklin are the exact same year higher, right? Right around maybe a year difference.
I think a year difference, yeah.
So who did...
But here's the thing.
Brady Hoke.
I think when you look at the overall situation, Penn State, again, going into this season, I think the average consensus anyway was 8-4.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you had some people 7-5, 9-3. You had a few outliers, 6-6 or worse. You had a few outliers, 10-2 or better. But, I mean, it was basically 8-4, give or take a game. Well, and it's still a big if, you got to close this thing out, and we'll see what happens here. And I think it's critical what happens here in these final 4 games. But if Penn State does get to 10-2, and especially if it then takes care of business in the bowl game, I mean, you're hard-pressed to chalk this up as anything but a successful season, and at least setting you up for the potential of brighter days ahead, especially when you look at the quarterback situation and the running back situation. And again, I think the line play remains a concern, and it's just is going to until you get through Michigan and Ohio State next year. You can dominate everybody the rest of this year, look great in the bowl game. You can dominate and get out to a 6-0 start next year until I'll just speak for me, but I think a lot of fans, until I see it against Michigan and Ohio State in crunch time, that's going to remain, a looming, overhanging concern.
It's an enormous
for this program.
These 4 games right here. I was telling Chris on Tuesday's show, how important it is to Franklin, to James, and his staff is. If they lose one of these games or these next 4, I think that the ship is. I think people will be jumping off the ship. I really do. I think it is going to be really, really hard to bring people back, to get fans to buy in. Yes, over the next couple of seasons. Yes. So that's how important these next 4 games are, and they are extraordinarily winnable games. I mean, there's no game where we shouldn't be at least a 7-point favorite. Yeah. I mean, at least a 7-point favorite in all 4 of them. So. Again, I go back to what I said Tuesday, and that is that, the people will be jumping ship, and then they will be calling for Franklin. But, there's nothing we could really do with the buyout, the way it's set up and all that stuff. And no one's looking to get rid of James Franklin, because my opinion is that we are going to run the table, go 4, and then play in a January, what do they call them? January 6th, January 6th? New Year's Six Bowl, sorry. The New Year's, one of the New Year's Six Bowls. January 6th. Yeah, that ship sailed already. The New Year's Six Bowls. So here's a couple other things, just since I wasn't here on Tuesday. The Michigan State situation and the tunnel. I want to make sure I'm clear about this. 100%. The problem there lies with the Michigan State players and what they did. I mean, it's conduct that is way beyond anything that you could possibly excuse. That being said,
right, James Franklin's point is like that situation.
Have you heard me talk about it? Honestly,
is yes.
I know Booch and
Yes.
Booch and Noble have talked about it. It's the worst situation. It's just as bad as Notre Dame. And how many times have you seen fights in Notre Dame's tunnel?
And it needs
you
to be
just
rectified.
don't see that back because the Michigan tunnel is literally 100 yards back off the field. So you got to run up a tunnel. But Notre Dame, you're right there, and it's like you got to come out of the same tunnel. And repeatedly, we had a fight against them. Notre Dame had a fight against them back in the day. Everybody, I don't understand. I mean, I know it's been 100 years, and Michigan people are like, "Oh, it's 100 years, never been an issue," but because of the teams have been. But
it has been an issue. That's
this.
The thing.
Yes, it definitely is.
I
talk about it from 20 years ago. Just how much of a stupid setup it is, and you sit there and they want you to run through two doors. They want 100 or 80 football players to run through two doors here, right? While Michigan's coming up behind them, so these guys all get backed up, and these guys are going to start chirping.
Right.
And that's what they do. As much as Michigan says, it's not our fault. Bullshit. They actually sit there and they yell and they chirp and yada, yada, yada. And the fact is, there had been a bigger fight like this. You know, we lost there in 05.
The thing Saturday, again, I am not telling you that, Michigan is responsible for this because of the tunnel situation.
Nor am I.
Okay. But I am saying, why not look at least exploring the idea?
Yep.
It can't be that difficult with the money that's being thrown around right now in the Big
Ten. Put a partition right down the middle.
Yes, to have the teams separated by whatever measure. Build a locker room at the other end of the stadium if you need to, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But to avoid the possibility of, and again, inexcusable what happened, and I don't even begin to understand.
This fascination was swinging your helmet at a helmetless dude.
Yeah, I mean that is.
What's going to happen if you hit him? You might kill him.
Yeah, it's
beyond stupid.
Yeah,
I don't care your emotions got you or anything like that, but it's reckless. Well, and there's going to be charges, and I guess the media is only talking about the one assault. There was actually two different assaults that happened. One guy was just obviously got attacked by 9 guys and got the crap kicked out of him. But there's another guy who got hit with a helmet and broke his orbital bone possibly. And it's like you're sitting there, you're reading tweets after the game. Again, I have my friend's son plays in Michigan, so he's like, dude, this is unbelievable. You're not going to believe what just happened. And I was like, what? He's like, there's a brawl. 20 guys jumped Michigan players. And I'm like, gee, I've seen it coming for years.
Yeah, if you take it out, make it so it's an impossibility to have it happen in the tunnel, where that emotions are high.
No,
and again, I'm
with you.
I'm
100% with you.
Anyway, but
Michigan
I do
State
think
should be held
Michigan
accountable.
has to really sit down after this season and examine that tunnel situation, because now you have had a very significant incident and another problem incident that, again, can and I think should be addressed. They need to be addressed by Michigan to prevent the opportunity, the possibility of that type of stuff happening.
Emotions are so high after a rivalry game like that, and Michigan took it to
especially when it's a
big rivalry game like that. And see, the problem with Michigan, and you've heard me talk about this, is that you run out on the field, and then the security guards are roping you off, like on your sideline, like back up, Michigan's coming. And I'm like, I don't care. It just irks me and pisses me off more. Well, make way for Michigan. Anyone here on this sideline could have gone to Michigan. Just so you know that, sir. So you already have that build up angst against them, and then you go get your booty kicked in and this and that, and then there was chirping after the game. There always is. And again, these guys grew up together. There are a lot of guys from the state of Michigan, so there's a lot of underlying stuff maybe that that is the rivalry, and it's just a recipe for disaster. And I can't believe that Michigan is hiding. They said there's never been an incident until the last 2 weeks, and it's twice in the last month that there's been an issue. And I can't believe it's not been. And then you got to give some other teams a lot of respect, because how they act after the game and how they win and then run up the tunnel and they just chirp, chirp, chirp. The fact that there's never been something like that before blows my mind. Now, I am not excusing Michigan State whatsoever. I think Mel Tucker should be held accountable for his players to the point where he suspended 4 guys. There should be 15 guys suspended from that team. I mean, they should not be able to field a team, for God's sakes. He should be suspended because he has these kids on his team. If they're that undisciplined to do something like that, come on, man. It's football. It's a football game, and you're going to try. I mean, no, you could have killed somebody.
Yeah.
You're swinging that helmet around like you could kill somebody. It's like Mason Rudolph when Myles Garrett was swinging his helmet. If he had contacted him in the head, he would have killed him. Like, you would have seen a murder on a football field.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't see the point of it. You know, emotions are emotions, and you're pissed off, and you can sit here 20 years later and be a fat, overgrown ex-athlete like myself and just talk crap about Michigan and yada, yada, yada. But, you know, does not excuse what Michigan State did. But something they definitely need to put a partition down there and quit with that backup for Michigan bullshit that they do before the game. And it's just animosity that grows. And again, I'm not faulting Michigan, but maybe you need to change some stuff up.
Yeah, take away the opportunity.
Yes, no doubt about it.
For something.
I mean, no other place. I
happen.
mean, if you watch some of these stadiums, I mean, it's bizarre. Ohio State, the teams have to cross. Illinois is the same way. Our locker room is across that way. Their locker room is across this way. So literally, they have to run across the field at halftime. And then the Michigan or the Ohio State coaches got to run out there and keep their players. But your team runs by. You know exactly what Ohio State does, and we would do the same thing. Don't kid yourself. I'm not saying Michigan and Ohio State are different. No, Penn State would do the exact same thing. If you got to wait for a team to come running by, you're going to chirp because that's what football players do. And it's usually the little 14-string cornerbacks that are talking a lot of jive, a lot of crap. So you'll love this.
Yeah.
So Nate Carr Sr.
Yep.
Just an all-timer, right?
For sure.
Know him well. Got to know him well in the last 5 years. Very good friends with my friend Austin. He actually did the service for Austin's daughter's marriage. So I'm sitting there. I think we were in Cleveland, and you have the 16 guys lined up. So there's 32 guys there, whatever. There's I know the guys get by. So there's 20 guys lined up in the tunnel waiting to be called out, and they go run out to their match, right? And I said, Nate, how much shit's being talked out there? How much yapping is going on there between the competitors? The two. I mean, I'm wrestling this guy, and this guy's wrestling this guy, and I was like waiting for him to say, like, oh God, it's unbelievable. You can't imagine what's being said. He goes, there ain't one word being said. There's not one word being said. And I said, really? And he goes, no, because you can't hide. He goes, football players, they talk a lot of jive and a lot of crap when they got 100 players behind them. And they go, in wrestling, you walk in the room, you got to wrestle, you got to fight 100 people. Football, it's 100-on-1. And he goes, that's the difference. That's why you don't have that kind of like attitude and chirping that goes on in wrestling and stuff like that, because you got to go out that mat. You got to face it. You got to put up. You want to talk some crap, you're going to have to deal with it in those 9 minutes or 10 minutes or 12 minutes on the mat. And I was like, damn, all right, okay. And he was like, yeah, not one word is being said. And that completely blew my mind because I've been around football players. And I said, yeah, Nate, I'm not going to lie to you. I said, usually it's guys your size who are fighting other guys that are their size, and there's 50 guys fighting against 50 guys, and the big guys are like, just come on, let's go play football, And he was laughing, and it was just funny to hear him say that, but it's true.
Yeah.
He goes, there's no talk. No one's saying a word in that environment, but you can't do that in football. And he goes, as what he said, he goes, the problem with football is that you got one guy who has 100 guys behind him, and when you're a wrestler, you're one guy fighting 100 guys. And I was like, touche, good point.
Yeah, I mean yeah. Yeah, I think there's a measure of respect there too, just for what it takes to
to get to that point.
Yeah.
And you could ask me, and everybody asked me, "Well, did you talk crap?" I said, "I never talked crap on the field. Never, ever. It wasn't my thing." Yeah. And the guys try to get in your head. I just they're used to just laugh at them. I said, "My always who was it? Maurice, the corner. I forget his last name from our team, Marquise." He was telling us last week he's a big chirper on the team. I said, well, you know what? There is one time I did talk a little jive, and that's when I pick a guy up off the ground after you just put him on the ground, put him on his butt. I picked him up. I said, smacked him on the ass. I said, come on, you're better than that. Come on, you're better than that. And I said that absolutely infuriated people when you used to say that because you weren't talking crap. You were just getting under their skin a little bit, and that was sort of the fun part of it, but. Yes, it's a shame that what happened out there, and it's got to be fixed.
So, if switching topics completely here, we're putting you in charge. You're James Franklin for a day. What are you doing at quarterback this week or the remainder of the season?
I have bought into the 1-0 theory. I really have, and that is just it's. You can't let this like a loss affect you. And I think that James has a really good job of getting his guys to stop thinking about it and move on to the next game. Now, with that said, I don't think James has that 1-0 mentality because we haven't talked about it. When he was talking about Michigan's tunnel 2 weeks, 10 days after it happened, and he's got a game against Ohio State in 4 days. I didn't understand why he was saying that because you're telling your guys to put it past you. One game, it's over with, it's over with, it's over with. And I know the media was prodding him and stuff like that. And I'm sure they did this week. I did not see his press conference, but I'm sure that question came up about the tunnel and Michigan and stuff like that.
Here's my thing. I've been all about. Well, no, I've been all about Sean Clifford, and I was buying in that's your best chance to win. But and I'm not pinning the Ohio State loss just on Clifford, although it is hard to get past the 4 turnovers and the significance they played in the game. We talked about it going in. I thought Penn State had to be +2. Turns out Penn State could have been -2 and won that game. Right? I mean, it's the last 2 that absolutely killed you. They were -2 and on their way to a victory before the final 2 turnovers. Here's my thing, and I am not. I really am not a Sean Clifford basher. I absolutely love the kid's heart. I love the kid's attitude, and I think his leadership has been absolutely crucial to the success that this team has had to this point in the season. That being said, the reason that you would have Sean Clifford out there over Drew Aller right now is to not have what happened Saturday. I mean, the whole reason for starting Sean Clifford is so that you don't end up -4 in the turnover category. Again, it is not. I'm not here to, Clifford's done. I'm not saying you kick him to the curb, but I'm saying you have to get Drew Aller a lot more snaps now.
I agree.
I don't know if you go 50-50 with them or if you start Aller and see, how he performs and make a performance based on him or a feel that you have. But to me, again, this was the opportunity, and Sean Clifford knows it. I mean, he said it in the post game. I mean, this was his opportunity to step up and have that huge signature game, and he was good for a lot of the day. But I mean, 4 crucial mistakes.
Well, I mean, the first 2 hurt. They didn't hurt us on the scoreboard that much.
And by the way, I'm not pinning them. I'm not saying he is solely responsible for the 4 turnovers.
The pick 6 was not his fault. That's not it. He's taught to throw that ball.
Yeah, but
I blame the right tackle. You got to get him down.
Yeah,
you're expected to get him down. The quarterback has that in his mind.
I don't disagree, but you also. You're a 6th-year senior. You got to see the guy in front of you, don't you? And get it over him? No?
Well, I don't know. You have to have faith in your players, and that's why football is the greatest game out there. And that is because if you have 10 guys doing their job and one guy not, it blows it up, and that's what happened. So my feeling on Aller is, and I understand people who were saying, get him out there, let him get the hiccups out now rather than next year when we have are we going to have a much better team next year? I think we have a better team next year. I think we're going to lose a lot.
You're hoping, right? If you're in that Penn State locker room, you're hoping it's a much better team.
I would like for him to get on the field to get his mistakes out of the way, learn from his mistakes type of things. And I mean, people are saying he should be out there having his hiccups now when it doesn't really matter. And we have 4 games left against 4 teams that have bad records.
Yep.
That we should be beating by 20 to 30 points each game. So I would like to see 2 Clifford, 1 Aller, just to get him on the field in some opportunities, in some environments.
I'd go the other way.
You go 2 Aller, 1 Clifford?
Yeah. I'm not kicking Clifford to the curb. I think he's been, vital to this year's team. Getting to the point where it has a chance to go to 10-2, but I just don't think you can ignore what happened Saturday in some crucial moments. And,
a 6-year senior should not be making those mistakes.
And here's the other thing to your 1-0 point. All 4 of these games with either of those guys at quarterback should be wins.
Correct.
And if that's the case, again, I'm not saying you're giving – to me, it's not giving up on this season. It is focusing on this season with an eye toward the future as well. And, I could make the argument, and I don't think it's unreasonable that, it should be Aller's team from here on out. I think that's not an unreasonable take to have right now if, you're trying to build this thing to a national championship contender over the next couple of seasons. I think that's a reasonable position to take. It's not that I think you owe Sean Clifford anything. It's just that I do think he's done enough good things, including that Ohio State game, that, he deserves to still be out there some. But I just think Aller needs to be the primary quarterback, again, to me, moving forward. I think that the time has come. And, in large part it is because of what happened Saturday. And, I think that the whole reason, again, for Clifford to be out there was to not have those turnovers in the critical situations. And again, 4 of them. I mean, that's just hard to overlook in the big spot. And I think they need to see exactly what they have. I think they have a pretty good idea, but I think you need to see what you have and what you need to work on with what you have in Drew Aller for next season again, because these next 2 years to me, Goon, and I'm throwing the next 2 years together. I think they need to be, at least 10-2 again next season. But I think one of these next 2 years to feel like this program is truly getting where you want it to as a Penn State fan under James Franklin, one of either in 2023 or 2024, this team has to be in the college football playoffs, in my mind.
When does the 12 start? Is that next year, the year after, whatever?
The year after right now.
I mean, I'm 1,000,000% with you that, we need to get to that point where.
Well, you're going to have Aller and Singleton and and Allen. By the way, I'm not sure Allen right now hasn't surged in front, and not that again. I think you have 2 terrific running backs there, but boy, did Allen do some great things in that Ohio State game. And I think, defensively, you have some good young talent. I just think
they were put in a bad spot Saturday in that first quarter, and they came out.
It was unbelievable.
They did great.
It was unbelievable.
They just couldn't hold up in the end. I mean, Ohio State's one of the top 3 teams in the country for a reason, because they've been doing that 28-point in 4-minute thing all season.
Yep.
They just didn't do it late in the fourth quarter like they did against us. I mean, so I have a question for you. Are you fed up with? Yes, we're 11-2, but it's the same 2 that we can't get past right now.
I mean, it hasn't really been the same 2.
But the fact we lost to Michigan that bad, it just
over the years. I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, it's the 2, but it's also the 2 most likely that you would lose to, right? Yeah. I mean, it's like they are the 2 most excusable.
Now, see, Booch had a great point the other day, and that is we are built to beat Ohio State. That's what we are doing, because that is the big dog in our league.
Yep.
So we are built, and I said it the other day, we are built like a 7-on-7 team. Yeah. And what Jim Harbaugh did is he built a old school Big Ten mid-'80s team.
Yep.
And they are a powerful, powerful team that can just steamroll you, and they're going to try and do what they did to us to Ohio State, because us and Ohio State are very similar, in my opinion.
Yeah, that game is
very intriguing.
Going to be a fascinating matchup.
Which way are they going to go with it? Yeah.
I just think that's one of the most intriguing games on the entire college football.
Yeah, and then say Michigan does get past Ohio State, and then they go down and have to play an SEC, Georgia, Tennessee, or Alabama, and I think Penn State and Ohio State are built like SEC teams with a lot of speed on the outside. I mean, I really, really, really wish that we had a mid-sized, combination of good interior offensive and defensive line play and good skill players, but we seem to be really heavy on like I said, a 7-on-7 team, and that's where we match up. Because I asked Chris, I said, why do we match up well against Ohio State and we don't do well against Michigan? Michigan just beats the crap out of us, and that's why. I mean, it's a very valid point. That we are built to beat Ohio State because they're the top dog, and but you go against a team like Michigan who is built for blunt, trauma. I guess we're going to wear you down and beat your ass. I mean, and then we went down there to do that. So we got to see how Ohio State plays against Michigan to see how that goes, because that is going to be an unbelievable game. Because I had Ohio State people up this weekend. Friends of mine are from Columbus. And it's all they're worried about. It's all they care about. Honest to God, if they could beat Michigan by 30 and not even make a bowl game, they would take that. They would give up a national title.
They might say that now. I don't know if
I think that they would give up a national title to beat Michigan by 30 and embarrass Michigan like they embarrassed them last year out at Michigan and how they acted and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's going to be a fascinating game.
Oh, back to the tunnel.
Where
are the Michigan people, the security people? They sat there and watched. You watch those videos, there's no one stepping in and grabbing those two guys. It's crazy to think about. They didn't. Dude, you got a job. Go do your job. I just don't understand why people were standing there watching. It's almost like that. It was like they couldn't see it, and then they were like, "Oh, I'll grab him," and the guy's all beat up and blooded up. So, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's an ugly look. I guess I didn't really notice. I'll have to go back and look with the. I mean, I know there's security.
There's people in the Michigan locker room, like looking down the tunnel. They know what's going on, and they're like this, like, "Get your ass down there, help your guy."
But do they know what? I mean,
and that's the same thing because the Michigan team was on the field still.
Yeah,
they were doing the alma mater, and they were walking around with the Paul Bunyan trophy. So
unless you're actually seeing what
because that was one of the things that people were like, "Well, why is that kid up? Why is the one Michigan player in the tunnel? Why is there only one out there?" Because then somebody from Michigan said that he runs on the field early because he wants to see his father, who just comes from Texas. It's the only time he could see his dad, really. That was the excuse that they had, that he was the only guy running up that tunnel.
Yeah.
Again, I go back to, I can't believe it's taken this long for something like that to happen.
Let's switch gears again. Just talk a little bit about the World Series.
Is there something going on with Philadelphia and Houston tonight?
Because how about that? That's just.
Ever remember something like this?
Interesting scheduling.
I don't.
I guess offhand.
2 cities, 2 sports, 1 World Series, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
in a World Series type environment. I mean, it's only be a Thursday night game, and it's only been a Thursday night.
Well, yeah, but
that's true.
Or a Monday.
I guess they play the World Series other games Thursday, right? I'll go wait in the car.
But listen, I do think I mean it is really intriguing. The World Series has been
it's fun.
Just an observer from a distance. It's been a lot of fun to watch.
True baseball fans
into it. The home run fest followed by the no hitter. It is compelling baseball drama, right? And now you're down to a best of 3 series, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the baseball gods are, the people who believe in the baseball gods being a fickle bitch. It's true. I mean, the fact that the Phillies go off on this home run tangent, and then 24 hours later can't even get a hit. I mean, people will sit there and say that is baseball. That is baseball in a nutshell, right there. It doesn't matter. And I love what Kyle Schwarber said today. He said he doesn't give an S about. He goes, okay, we're going to go down in the record book as having a no-hitter, but it'll all be forgotten. They win 2 of the next 3 games. Right. No one will even remember.
No question.
It'll be a blip on a screen. Yep. But if they continue to not hit, and that's the issue that the Phillies had this season. And I said, I'm on record. I've told you this with my wife telling her 3 months ago. I said, get on board. These guys are going to go. And then my nephew said to me the other night, did you put money on it? And I'm like, I'm an idiot. If I'm the one who thought it, I should have put money on it 3 months ago. So I just, the baseball gods are laughing and stuff like that. It's a pretty good thing. It's pretty cool to think about how baseball is so fickle like that. And, we talk about the 1-0 mentality. That's baseball mentality in itself. It's like, hey, it's a new day. It's a new game. You're 0-0. We got 9 more innings against this team. And I know the fans are going to be absolutely rocking and rolling again tonight. So some of those videos of the fans yelling at people and stuff like that in Philadelphia have just been hilarious. Angelo's Pizza refusing to cater the Astros team dinner. Now that they're catching a lot of crap. They close at 7. They're a bakery. They close at 7. So the guy was like, I want to watch the game. I don't want to sit there and wait till 11 o'clock to make a delivery. So I can understand it, but
sure,
business-wise, you can't turn that down. But I guess they're going to go down. Angelo's is going to go down as a Philadelphia legend for not serving the opposing team during the World Series. I think it's great. But yes, fantastic watching these games. I mean, I'm on the end of my seat the last couple of days, and I think that somebody said that it's playoff baseball. Every pitch almost means something. It's like it's so because you play 162 games. Like, okay, we lost a couple in a row, but then times are going to change. But every pitch is important now in every one of these playoffs games, and it's fun. Yeah, it's fun when it's your team. So you're an outsider. You enjoyed watching them, right?
Oh, it has. It's just been compelling drama. I mean, from a TV viewership standpoint, I don't know what more you could ask for if you're Major League Baseball in terms of reasons to watch and drama. And now, the stage is set here for like everybody's wondering what is going to happen here in Game 5 now after these last two.
What team's going to show up
in particular? And it's we'll see. I think it's just going to be fun again as somebody that has no vested interest to just sit back and watch the thing unfold. And
as an outsider watching, and I've been hearing it both sides, and I know how I feel. I think John Smoltz is an absolute great color commentary. He does an absolutely unbelievable job. And there's people who are complaining that they wish that Joe Buck was back. And I said, I learned more in the last 4 games watching and listening to John Smoltz than years of playing baseball and years of watching. I enjoy listening to him in the whole player pitcher batter matchup. And I know he's not getting into the whole gist of 9 versus 1. It's just the pitcher matchup, which I'm cool with. I enjoy what he says and stuff like that. I'm like, wow. What he said last night, it was 0-2, and they just threw a waste pitch, and he was like, that's not the pitch you wanted to waste. It's like, now he's centered up again and all this and all, and sure as hell he walked the guy because it was interesting to hear him talk, and I really enjoy listening to him call that game.
Do you not want to know? Because I do, and I wonder if someday, I mean, not till after the series, and maybe never, but I would love to know what Harper said
to Bohm.
Yes, after that home run, and whether or not it played. Because I mean, what could it have been that tipped it? I mean, it like there was almost the myth now surrounding it is that. Well, yeah, once he hit that home run, it's like, here's the secret sauce, guys. Go hit more home runs, and they did. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, it could be that he just said, hey, be patient. I mean, it could be something simple that didn't really have any direct, or it could be
sit on it. Hey, first pitch, sit on it.
Watch his, if his release is here. It's, I mean, it's just fascinating to wonder.
2 theories that I saw was his leg kick in the air. For breaking, it goes much higher for the breaking. I don't know which one, and then his glove goes higher for the breaking balls and stuff like that.
It feels like it would. I mean, again, I have no idea.
No, he could have just said, "Hey,"
but yeah,
I liked your wife's cooking last night.
There
it was pretty
some
good.
sort of tip-off that was happening,
and they both hit first pitch, bang, gone.
Well, and here's the other thing I'm wondering. So, how much do you think the Astros are going back right now and self-scouting and trying to figure out, all right, what the hell happened that they were able to tee off and get those home runs? It had to be something that were right. I mean, they have to be their pitching coaches have to be going over the film over and over and trying to correct and
it's sort of funny thinking about it, like
here, whatever
because
occurred.
Fox keeps on talking about the cheating scandal from 5 years ago.
Yeah,
and then they have they're tipping pitches, and it's like if you're an outsider, you're probably sitting there going, "Wait a minute, if he's tipping pitches and he knows what's coming, is that not part of cheating?" And I'm like, well, this is one of the things about baseball. If you can do it with your eye, it's not cheating. But if you use technology to do it, that is cheating. And I completely agree with it. That's how I feel about it. But my God, it may have been nothing. It really may have been nothing.
Exactly. I mean, and I think, and if it was, and I think that's a possibility that it was just, hey, enjoy the moment here, man. look at this atmosphere, soak it up. I mean, again, we have no idea. It feels like it was more than that. But if that's what it is, how brilliant are the Phillies right now? And just, I don't know if it may have helped. We don't know because it has to be driving the Astros crazy, right?
Well,
they have to be feeling like there is some sort of a tip off there with that conversation, followed by what occurred there with the home run fest.
Yes, and the fact that they got bow tie in the dugout. What did he say to you? I'm like, why would I tell you that? I know it's a reporter's job. I guess that's their job. They have to ask that question.
Candlesticks make a nice,
right? Yeah,
nice
I don't know. We need a whole chicken or a live chicken. What do we need? And the candlesticks make it.
Oh well.
Yes.
Anyways,
yes, but I mean,
All
they're going crazy about it, and right now every pitcher in Houston's like, okay, do I have a tail? I mean, they have been thinking about it. They must have changed it because they didn't give up a hit last night. And again, I go back to it. It's a fickle game. It's a beautiful game. It is as pure a game as you get. It's the same that was played 50 years ago, and that's why I think people hold on to baseball so dearly and its rules. So how was your Sunday, Jeff?
pretty nice. We had a
throttling?
real nice hike. What's that?
Good throttling by your Yinzers? Yeah.
We went up into the mountains, had a nice hike. And what's
They didn't
this?
turn out that well, huh?
What was Sunday? we had a busy day. Was there?
Oh, yeah. You didn't watch the Steelers-Eagles, not damn. You know,
was that this last week?
Yeah, sorry about it.
Oh, son of a gun.
You know, at one point I was
what
going
happened
to
in that
leave
thing?
the Ohio State game and leave at 7 o'clock in the morning after to go to that game, the Eagles game.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting there, and I thank God, like 3 weeks ago, I canceled it. But I mean, I got like 3 hours of sleep, 2 or 3 hours of sleep on Friday after Friday night's game, and then going into getting into the tailgate at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I'm looking back and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? I'm not 21 years old no more. There's no way in hell I could have gotten in a car and driven down to Philadelphia on Sunday morning at 7 o'clock to go watch the Phillies beat the living tar out of the 4-1-2.
Yeah, it was an impressive showing. There was no question about that.
That
Eagles.
I'm a red zone guy, but I had the game on the left side, so I could watch the whole game, and then I had But when the last touchdown that they scored, and they said this is their first play in the red zone, and they had 35 points, I was like, wait a minute, and I have never ever remember anything like that.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. I mean, it really was just.
Did you listen to the show Tuesday?
I have not.
Oh, yeah. So I fell for a ruse. I fell for the Bill O'Brien ruse that he got hired by Auburn.
Yeah.
And I sent a text to Bill's wife. I said, hey, tell Bill congratulations.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I didn't feel too good about that one when I found out it was a joke. So it was about as funny a joke as the Steelers are moving on from Tomlin. They're going to hire Canada as to be their head coach. And I had some friends who were absolutely freaking out. And I'm like, dude, do you really think this is real? Really?
I mean, he's being groomed for the position. Probably not till after the season, but I mean, clearly,
he's earned the right?
Well, he has complete buy-in from the locker room. That's the big thing. Is that
Tomlin? You believe he's earned the right?
No, I'm kidding about Canada.
Yeah,
because I don't think I think they. Yes, I do, but I think.
Tomlin,
they need to move on from, and I'm really not one of those. I'm not big on the firing the assistants, and because I do think, and I don't think. Listen, clearly Chase Claypool. There were some issues there in the locker room. I mean, there's no way around that at this point. But you can, and they are lacking talent in some key spots on offense. So it's not that I think that the results are on Matt Canada. It's just that there's been enough little things. There's that clip from whatever game it was a few weeks ago where they were walking into the locker room after the win, and I think it was Boswell was that's after Canada gets a congratulatory hug or handshake. He's like, well, it's not because of you. Like there is, and you've seen enough of that stuff and rumors of that stuff that's going on in the locker room that I just don't think.
I didn't hear that. That's
Canada does not have buy-in from that team right now. And listen, I think with the jury, I think is still out on Kenny Pickett. I'm leaning toward. I think he is the future there at quarterback. I don't think it's. I'm not going to sit here and tell you. I guarantee in 5 years we're going to be talking about a Hall of Famer in the making. But he looks the part to me now. Again, I've been wrong a gazillion times both ways on quarterbacks. Occasionally I'm right. Josh Allen, I'm like, nah, this guy gets it. I think he's developed into, and he has. But
We'll see
I
next
think
year.
Kenny Pickett is going to be the long-term answer here at quarterback. But I think getting, and I don't think it needs to be this season, but I think getting an infusion of enthusiasm, which a new hire at OC would do, would help tremendously to the outlook for the Steelers going into next season.
I always say with quarterbacks, Ironhead is, though, I want to see them their sophomore year, their second year in the league, second year starting, not second year playing, second year starting, because you want to see what they did in the offseason. And that is because there are guys who, especially at the quarterback, I mean, this is how I pretty much judge a lot of NFL players, but specifically quarterbacks. And that is if they get off the season, the season's over and this and that, and they just go party because it's like, all right, I made it. Right. I'm an NFL player. I have all this money. I can do whatever I want. You literally can do anything you want in this world. Anything.
Yeah.
Now, is that person going to go bury himself in his work and getting better for next season? Because it starts, you got about a month off, and then you got to get back into it. Now, there are guys who take that first year and say, okay, I got this. And I don't want to use his name, but Colin Kaepernick was one of those guys. And the defensive coordinators, they live on eating young quarterbacks. That's what they thrive on. And they go into the offseason and they figure out how to beat them. And they learn how to beat Kaepernick. They're going to learn how to beat all these other quarterbacks. Yeah. It's what they do. These guys are professionals. They're very, very good at what they do. Now, is it up to Kenny Pickett to go out and say, okay, I need to get better at this. I need to work on this. I need to do this. Or is he out partying, having a good time, rocking and rolling with his boys? I mean, that's a big thing to me at any position, but specifically at quarterback. So that'll be interesting to see because I like him. I like the fact that he calls guys out and says, we need more guys in their damn playbooks. I mean, what a rookie quarterback do you hear saying that? You never hear anybody saying that.
No, I hear you.
I told Chris the other day if I was a Steelers fan, I'd be more pissed off at Najee Harris.
Yeah.
What in the hell is going on there?
I don't know. I think he had that injury earlier in the season, and I'm just wondering how much of that is still nagging him because, I mean, everything you hear about him is his work ethic. I mean, he's a great locker room guy, and everything you hear about his work ethic and everything. So, I mean, I don't know, and I'm not looking to make excuses for him, but something is, and I mean, he does not have a great offensive line, but it's not just that. Like he's not breaking tackles that we've seen him break before.
I mean, I told Chris, I said, you hear the name Trent Richardson come up with comparisons, and I'm like, ooh, that's not a good thing.
No, I just wonder how much the injury is nagging him still.
Well, that's good to hear from someone like you.
Again, I don't know, but it just feels like there's something that's off there, and I don't think
I don't watch him enough to realize, but I remember watching some plays during, and I think it was Ross Tucker saying, there's just no effort here in this play, and we talked about it Tuesday, but
that's all he is effort, and that's why, I mean, that's not something that generally you have for your high school and college career and first year as a pro, and then all right, never mind, I'm done with that.
Yeah, he just. I mean, I don't. Your injury theory makes a little bit of sense to me.
Looks like, but I find it hard to believe that
he
all of a sudden this guy now has just lost his
chip block on the D end that he really could have rearranged the guys. He should have. That's what they do. You help out your offensive line by chipping that guy. He avoided it, takes a swing pass, and then hops twice, and then doesn't even make an attempt to break a tackle, and just falls down. It was like a 3rd down and 2 or 4th and 1 or something like that. It was just like there was really no effort. I mean, it was like, and that's your theory. Just made a lot more sense to me that if he is still hurting, then that would explain that effort in that play, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, something clearly is.
It was not the same guy I had seen.
No, it's not the same back that the Steelers had last season.
No,
there's no question about that.
Welcome to the rest of the world. I mean, you guys have been spoiled for so freaking long.
That is true.
Yeah. So we were talking.
No argument.
When was the last time the Steelers had their own top 10 pick? As in one of the top 10 worst teams in the league. I don't remember it. It's 20-some years, I think we went back.
Yeah.
Not drafted, not from somebody else. You know what I'm saying? They had their own pick where they were – because it's – Tomlin's been there, and he's never had a losing season.
In the 90s with I'm trying to think if it would have been –
What pick was Polamalu? Was he a top 10 and what – I'm not putting you on the spot.
He was like not 9, I think, right? wasn't he?
2019, Devin Bush.
Was it their pick?
I believe so.
So their record in 2018 was bad. Bad enough that they had the ninth worst record. I don't remember that.
Who was it?
He said Devin Bush was the ninth pick overall.
Oh, and yeah.
But was it 2018? Was that a bad season for the Steelers then? So, yeah. But again, I go back to, I mean, we did it 2 years ago when we went back and looked at the Steelers draft picks versus the Eagles draft picks. You got one bust.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
They traded it. They got it, yeah. So they haven't had their own in a long time.
I'll find it.
Okay. But the fact that the Steelers can go back 20-some years,
Yeah.
and they can name one bust. It was, I believe, a wide receiver, I think.
They've had a couple that, we're not.
2000 was their last.
99 season.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the guy I said too. Woohoo! So Plaxico in 2000 was the last time that they had a top 10 pick. Jeff, that's 21 seasons. Okay. And the Eagles have probably had 5 in those 22 seasons of top 10 picks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, like people laugh at Penn State football because it's like now we're dealing with what everybody else has dealt with for the last 50 years and coaching changes and this and that. We were steady for so long, and now we're just like everybody else. And the Steelers were different for a long, 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 long time.
Yep. No question, and I'm okay. I said it before this season began. I really thought from the time they.
Do you still think they have a Super Bowl defense, even with a healthy Watt?
Yeah,
I really do still think that.
I do. If you have an offense that is, putting up points on the board, I think that defense can create enough turnovers. Well, listen, Watt and Fitzpatrick alone give you a chance of getting a couple of turnovers every game. Well, if you have an offense that's operating on efficiency, that alone is a recipe to get you a lot of wins in the NFL. But they're just, when you're as struggling as much as they are right now on the offensive side, and you have one of those two key figures out on defense, it's tough. But I really thought going into this season, and again, I'm okay with it, with the prolonged success. I don't mind having a losing season once every couple of decades. I can handle that. If the payoff,
join the rest of the world
is winning more Super Bowls than any other franchise. I can deal with that. But I do think the build has to be quick here for the Steelers, because you do have,
and I think Tomlin deserves to do the rebuild.
Yeah, I do too. But if Pickett and Harris are what the Steelers think they are and are hoping, then again, not unlike what Penn State has. But it's got I think the defense for the Steelers is solid at the least, despite what Sunday may have looked like. And listen, I think part of that is just the Eagles obviously are much better than anybody was anticipating at the start of the season. And part of it is, and we've talked about this, sometimes everything just comes together the way you're hoping. And, there's a lot of different factors. Health is part of it. Jalen Hurts' development has been unreal. And Sirianni's development as a head coach has been unbelievable.
True.
How many people, including me, were like, oh yeah, Sirianni, that's the right answer. Look out, this guy's going to get these guys. There was nobody saying that was a great hire. There were plenty of people saying, yeah, let's wait and see what he does.
But I was embarrassed. I was furious about the Jalen Hurts pick, by the way. I really was. I'm okay with the young with the coach thing when they hired him and this and that. I didn't like his attitude when he first came around. He was like trying to be Mr. Tough Guy. And it's like, dude, that's not your job. Your job is to be the coach. The tough guys are on the field. Let them be the tough guy.
Yeah.
But he's grown on me a whole bunch. What they have me growing is that they're changing their offense on a weekly basis. They're very, very forward thinking with a lot of their offensive stuff right now. And they got these defenses just on their heels. You freaking throw in A.J. Brown. My God. To get him for second-round pick, Booch? A.J. Brown? One of it was a first round, but we had 3 of them. The Eagles had 3 first-round picks next draft. So they traded one for A.J. Brown, and he's paid off already. My God.
Yeah, but he didn't do.
No doubt about it. Yeah, they could have drafted.
He's having a good season, but the Steelers shut him down. He didn't do anything on Sunday.
Dude, I'm a very anti-show, like, look at me type of guy. But him pointing to the two Steeler guys on the ground going, I got you and I got you. That was pretty damn good.
That was.
And then in the same breath, and then I think about the Carolina game in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
And Moore takes his helmet off and throws it in the ground. He gets a 15, and the guy misses the extra point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you partake in the gambling side of this world, but there were money line bets that were on there because I had a friend at the house who he needed Carolina minus or +3.
Oh, boy.
So he was getting Carolina +3. So I was like, dude, and he had already thought it was done, but then he catches that bomb. And my guy is going absolutely crazy. He's like, I can't believe I just won this parlay. I can't believe I just won this parlay. And then he misses the extra point. So for the next 15 minutes, waiting for the overtime to go, he's just sitting there like MF and MF and MF and up and down. And hell, they missed a kick too, I think, to win the game. And thank God the Falcons just kicked the field goal, and he ended up winning the parlay because it was a -4 or +4, and they only lost by 3. But my goodness gracious. Just crazy. Yeah.
All's well that ends
yep,
well, dude.
I guess, but my Lord, I mean, guys can get really, really mad at that. And again, like I'm laughing at Brown's, his personal foul, but then, another guy does it and it costs his team. And there's a little bit of difference I get. But yes, he's been absolutely amazing. And I go back to the red zone thing. That's just insane. 35 points, and they had one play in the red zone. That's just crazy to even think about. Dominance, Jeff. Dominance. It's just the eastern side. It's the 2-1-5, bro.
Yep. College
it's
football.
Just a dominant effort from the eastern side.
College football rankings, Goon. Where are you at with?
Like I said before the show,
I'm not sure who I would take out, but I do think Michigan is one of the top 4 teams. Now, if you pin me down, I mean, I think Tennessee to me is rightfully number 1.
Sure.
I think Ohio State is number 2, Georgia number 3. And then, I mean, I would put Michigan in over TCU, but I'm not sure that that's not just bias based on what I saw Michigan do to what I thought was a pretty good Penn State team at the time.
Yeah.
Because you look at TCU's resume. I mean, it is a really good resume. And, I mean, this is one of the reasons, and I know there will be people say 12's too many. That's fine. I think, and I get no matter where you draw the line, there's going to be a debate over who's left in or out. The thing with going to 12 is you are, in my opinion, you are getting all of the teams that definitively should be in the mix. And it's most seasons it's 5 to 7 teams that you're like, well, that's clearly a playoff team. Now, it doesn't mean that one of the other teams, 8 to 12, wouldn't be able to beat one of those other teams on a given day. But I'm just saying, it seems like every year there's a legitimate, like any of those 5 teams, I think, are capable of winning the national title. And you probably throw Alabama into the mix. I mean, it's not like so. At least when you go to 12, to me, you have all of the teams that are clear cut. Listen, there's no doubt they should be in there. I think those 6 would be on my list of teams that they should be there. Yeah. Period.
Michigan will move up because of their quality of opponents is going.
Well, yeah, and if they beat Ohio State,
yeah, so that's the big one. But I mean, their out of conference schedule was an absolute joke this year. I mean, that's very, very well known and how bad that is. I'm okay with how it came out because it'll play out. It will play out on its own.
Oh yeah.
So I did say to Chris on Tuesday about, I can't wait for a couple years from now when you have to have a Western team or a Southern team come up to the North and play in December. I cannot wait for that day. I just can't. But we have to deal with we have to deal with their weather and this and that, and we've done it for 100 years, and it's complete crap. I'm interested to see how they do up here. But Tennessee, well deserving. Georgia, well deserving. Ohio State, deserving. Who was 4?
TCU and Michigan.
Yes. Now, see, I want your opinion. Michigan beats Ohio State. The other 2. This and that. Does a one-loss team go ahead of a one-loss Big Ten or SEC school jump ahead of a undefeated Big 12 champion TCU?
Yeah, I think it depends.
I think it does too.
Yeah, I think it depends on how things play out. But if it's a competitive game, if Michigan Ohio State is a field goal or less, and it's a great game. Like you come out of it saying, man, that was a instant classic.
Yeah.
And especially if Michigan hammers the rest of the opponents leading up to that, and Ohio State keeps doing what it's been doing. I mean, I think it not only could it happen, I could make the argument that it should happen, depending again on how everything plays out. And it's got to. I mean, you got to see how everything plays out before I would make a strong argument one way or the other.
That's the problem with the situation with what's going on. I mean, it's the same crap.
Yeah.
Now, do you think we have the same crap when it gets to 12? Well, 13 and 14 were deserving, and you're like, you had 12, you had your chance. Yeah, there's going to be crying of people who need to.
Yeah, and I think there will be legitimate debates and legitimate arguments about the 13 and 14 teams. Yeah. A lot of years being left out, and I think there's going to be because I think you're going to have more. Like by the time you get to that point, you're definitely looking at one-loss teams, and you may be considering like two-loss teams that had really tough schedules. Correct. So I think there's going to be legitimate debates about it.
It takes away the undefeated team.
I think it gets again. In my mind, the teams that are clear-cut, definitive national title contenders, they will be in there. And then, again, it's going to be, no matter where you draw the line, there's no question. There's going to be arguments and I think legitimate debates and all of that. And I'm okay with that. I think that's part of the fun of college football and of sports in general is you get to argue that stuff and try to hash it out. But I think, again, I would much rather, personally, as a college football fan, I'd rather have the discussion and a heated debate about whether the 13 or the 14 teams should have been in over the 11 or 12 than whether the 5 or 6 should be in over the 4. That to me, there's not a lot of separation there between those most years, those top 6 teams or so. There's not a lot of separation, and there usually is a little bit of a gap. And again, not such a wide gap that there's no way a 10 could beat a 2. No, obviously it could happen, but I think the consistency over the course of the season, you usually settle on 5 or 6 teams that are clearly national title contenders. You're definitively, even if you have a crazy year where it's 7 or 8, all of those teams are going to be in, and then when we go to no 12, matter where you have the debate, you're going to have it. Yeah, and that's fine.
But it takes away that a team like TCU, who was going to be undefeated, they did everything they possibly could to get to that point. They couldn't go more undefeated than they are, right?
I think.
So you're going to have. A one-loss Alabama team, a one-loss any of those 4 ahead of them are better teams than them, but they are undefeated, and you want to put credence into this. I can't wait for it to change. I really cannot wait for it to change because, honest to God, we're 10-2. We might have an opportunity.
Yeah, I think Penn State would be one of those teams that people would be debating this year. I think. That's about where if Penn State wins out, I think
one of our games this year. I think it was
12,
Auburn,
13, 14, right in there.
They were talking about Auburn. I think it was the Auburn game. They were saying that if you go back to the past 10 years, Penn State would have been in the 12-team playoff 5 times. And it was damn. That's the second tier versus getting to that elite level.
Boy, how huge does that win over Auburn look now?
Amazing.
Big time, Delby.
Well, Bill O'Brien's coaching. And that's how we end the show, buddy.
Bill will get it turned around next year.
I was so happy, but I was like, damn, Bill got another opportunity. That's great for him.
We will be back on Tuesday. We'll talk about the big win.
Go Phils.
Hope we didn't get too technical in the breakdown of the Penn State-Indiana matchup there on Saturday. We'll talk about that game probably a little more on Tuesday than we did today. Until then, be good.